Has anyone ever warned you that living past 80 may feel more like silent survival than tranquil retirement? People don't talk about it publicly, but if you're in your 80s, you might already feel it, that little change. These days, mornings no longer always begin calmly. You have less stable legs. Additionally, you now experience the problems of your youth more frequently than you anticipated. You have witnessed decades of giving, creating, and persevering. However, the world treats you differently after you enter this chapter. You may still look recognizable from the outside. However, your inner strength, memory, and even sense of control start to erode gradually but steadily. You were unprepared for this. Not the pamphlets, not the books, not even the discussions with physicians.
Since bodily changes aren't the only changes that occur at the age of 80, they put your spirit, mind, and heart to the test. The purpose of this film is not to frighten you. Its purpose is to lead you, to give you a name for the invisible burden you've been bearing, and assist you in doing so gracefully. We'll discuss 7 challenging realities of aging past the age of 80, to remind you of your silent power, not to make you feel weak. Before we start, please leave a comment if you're watching and have already experienced these changes in your life. Your story still matters, and you're not alone. Let's get started. The first truth is that the circle of people is vanishing. Something silent but devastating starts to happen when you're in your 80s. Your social network begins to wane.
It's not that you've been forgotten. The reason for this is because a large number of them had just left. Friends die. Care homes are occupied by neighbors. Family members become sucked into their own hectic lives. Nobody is to blame, but the absence deepens gradually and silently. Even the small things make a difference. Your Tuesdays are no longer anchored by your weekly coffee date. You used to hear that voice every Sunday after church. Absent. These seemingly straightforward links abruptly disappear. Nobody fills the gaps, which is the most difficult aspect. Even though they may adore you, younger folks don't fully comprehend the stages of life you've experienced. Your stories don't make them laugh in the same way. They weren't present.
This gradual disappearance affects more than just your schedule. It affects your sense of being seen, which is more intimate. Considering that loneliness in later life frequently encompasses more than just physical isolation. It implies that fewer people remember your laugh, your generosity, or the life you created, making you feel invisible. At that point, inquiries begin to surface. Am I still important? If I remained in bed today, would anyone notice? However, this is the reality that restores hope. You still retain the ability to establish new relationships. You don't need a crowd even now. Your day can be brightened by 1 or 2 deep chats, even with complete strangers. Joining a small group at your local library, smiling at the drugstore, or having a brief conversation with the mailman. These are lifelines, not insignificant deeds. You can't imagine how painful it would be to lose voices you know. Both that agony and your capacity to reach for new ones are genuine. There is more to your story. Someone is out there waiting to hear what you have to say, and you still have chapters to write. The second truth is the body's subliminal defiance. After the age of 80, growing older doesn't necessarily feel like a gradual process. There are moments when you feel as though your body is changing the story without your consent. Your legs carry you just fine one morning. The next time you walk, your knees resist every step. What confuses you isn't the dramatic, evident breakdown. It's the silent transitions that are unpredictable. A snooze that doesn't feel restful, a beloved meal that now makes your stomach churn, or an abrupt tightness in your back. Many elderly people anticipate a steady deterioration in their strength. However, their body's inconsistency is what really disturbs them. After getting a good night's sleep for a few nights, you wake up at 2 in the morning. You feel uneasy about foods you've been eating for decades. Once consistent, your energy level suddenly changes. You begin to feel as though no one informed you that the rules were changing. It is possible to feel deceived by this silent disobedience.
After a lifetime of habitation, your body suddenly stops responding as it once did. You start to wonder if this is a new phase or only a fleeting instance. Should I wait it out or should I worry? Because people don't always realize the emotional toll might sometimes be greater than the physical one. You might look fine. No one notices the effort you put in behind the scenes, even though you're still smiling, talking, and walking. How you carefully plan out your day, when your body feels more stable, how you schedule your tasks. You sit down because your legs are shaking, not because you're exhausted. The randomness is the most difficult. You feel unusually strong on some days. On other days, it feels heavier than normal. It's your body exerting extra effort to stay up, not failure. Here's something strong to cling to, though. A sense of equilibrium can be restored by gentle routines. Warm water to start the day. Before going to bed, do some gentle stretches. Take 10 minutes to enjoy some fresh air outside. Your body and spirit are reminded that you are still in this together by these little routines. You're not giving up, you're developing that subtle flexibility. Strength is that. I encourage you to share if you have seen the entire video and have experienced any aspect of this truth reverberating in your own life. Please let us know if you're still here by leaving a comment below. It gives others encouragement and lets us realize we're not alone. 2. And I kindly ask you to turn on the bell and subscribe if you haven't already. It enables us to continue creating inspirational videos like this one to encourage and support you along the way. Together, let's proceed. Third truth, the circle of people is getting smaller. This is one of the hardest things to deal with beyond 80. The folks in your immediate vicinity start to disappear. By time, not by choice. You may gradually become aware of it. You no longer get a response from the old friend you used to call every Thursday. A neighbor with whom you used to go for morning walks has either relocated or died. Even your kids. Those who used to rely on you for everything appear to have become preoccupied with their own lives, including jobs, grandchildren, and increasing obligations. Not that they don't give a damn. The stillness starts to build as life draws them in different directions. You could initially attempt to justify it. They might simply be busy this week. Weeks go by, and perhaps things will return to normal. Instead of a visit, birthdays are marked with a brief message. It feels quieter than it used to around the holidays. You discover that you prefer preserving memories to creating new ones. And not because you've given up, but rather because there aren't as many opportunities now. Perhaps it is no longer safe to drive at night. Perhaps noisy events make you feel overwhelmed. Perhaps folks don't realize how much energy it takes merely to get ready and leave the house. So you stop, you pause. Every time you pause, more quiet is created. Maybe next time. And you may gradually start to feel invisible because of that quiet. Harold, an 85-year-old man, offered a touching story. Being alone isn't the painful thing. It's the sensation that I'm no longer expected, as if no one's day would be disturbed by my absence. That silent reality is challenging. Here's what counts, though. Life is not diminished by a smaller circle. To feel connected, you don't need a crowded room. You can remember that you are still a part of the world with only one open discussion. A warm grin at the grocery store, a soft laugh over coffee, or even just sitting quietly together. These little things have a big impact. Sometimes doing what is uncomfortable is necessary to maintain a connection. Contacting someone first and sending them a note rather than waiting for a call. Accepting an invitation from a neighbor even if you're not sure. Giving what you have, your tales, your presence, your wisdom, is sometimes necessary. You might be surprised to learn how much a younger person needs your voice. Their anchor might be your experience. Being older does not diminish your value. However, it takes intention to remain connected and visible. It requires bravery. And it begins with telling yourself that you are important, even if your circle has become silent. The fourth truth is the weight of outliving other people. Living longer than the people who built your world might cause a certain type of pain. And that pain doesn't come once beyond the age of 80. It starts to feel familiar. Saying farewell is a continuous process. You repeat it repeatedly. To your childhood pals, your siblings who knew your parents, or a spouse you once pictured spending your golden years with, it's more than just the actual loss. Only the memories are being carried. You end up being the only person who can still smell your mother's kitchen, the only person who still finds humor in a joke from a decades-old vacation. You start to ask, "Remember when?" but no one is there to complete the statement. There is more to that type of loneliness than just quiet. It's the knowledge that no one else is as familiar with your timeline as you are. Your story's cast has diminished, leaving you with more lines to speak, but fewer people you know listening. Because you're still here when others aren't, you could even experience some guilt, not because you did anything wrong. Why me? Why now, you ask yourself, and the sadness never goes away. It just changes form. Eleanor, an 88-year-old woman, offered a touching story. She claimed that losing her husband wasn't the most difficult aspect. She woke up the morning and reached across the bed without realizing he was gone. Or when, after laughing at something, she realized that no one was left with whom to share it. The silent power in all of this, however, is this. It is you that remembers. The link that sustains their stories is you. You bear the legacy, the fun, and the love, and you honor them by talking about them. Making coffee, getting out of bed, and entering a peaceful home are acts of courage rather than weakness. I encourage you to leave a comment below if you're still watching this video and any of this truth seems familiar to you. It reminds people that they are not alone in this chapter and lets us know you are here. Additionally, I strongly advise you to subscribe if you haven't already. Your assistance enables us to keep producing insightful information to accompany you on your upcoming journey. Let's continue our journey together. The fifth truth is the decline in individual liberty. After 80, a little change occurs. People around you frequently begin to treat you as though you're not, even if you're still intelligent, self-sufficient, and completely capable. Your freedom starts to dwindle. Not all at once, but in small, incremental steps. Your kids insisting on taking you everywhere could be the first sign. Even when you feel completely comfortable while driving, they can start inquiring about your eating habits, how often you take your medication, or what time you should go to bed. It may feel like care at first, but eventually it may start to feel like control. Their love isn't the issue. The idea that being older equates to being powerless is the issue, and that presumption gradually takes the res away from you. All of a sudden, you are not in charge of making choices. They're softly overriding, advising, and nudging you. At that point, irritation starts to set in. People stop believing you can manage, not because you can't. Mr. Leonard, an 85-year-old AA, described how his adult daughter began to handle every aspect of his schedule, including what to eat, when to go for a walk, and even what shows to watch. Although he acknowledged her good intentions, Leonard claimed that it made him feel as though he was no longer living his own life. It wasn't because he couldn't, but rather because people thought he could. Being stubborn isn't the point here. It has to do with honor. It concerns the fundamental right to retain one's voice, to be questioned rather than instructed. It is not selfish to set boundaries at this point in life. It is a sign of self-respect. When something doesn't feel right, you might voice your concerns by saying, "Thank you, but I'd like to choose for myself." Here's the reality. You maintain your connection to the outside world the more you defend your right to choose what to eat, who to see, and how to spend your time. These aren't your typical decisions. They are the feelings that define who you are. Your voice matters, your tastes matter, and you should always have the freedom to make your own life decisions, regardless of your age. The emotional toll of outliving others is the sixth truth. You can't see or quantify one of the biggest difficulties that frequently accompany reaching the age of 80. It's not the stiffness in your knees or the pain in your back. It's the silent, agonizing loss of those who are no longer with you. One farewell, then another, and still another. The group of people who knew you well, such as your childhood buddies, college roommate, and spouse, gradually begins to fade. One day, you discover that nobody else is aware of the history of the scratch on your old bookcase. That dumb internal joke from your 20s makes no one laugh quite the same way. Being the sole recollector of a common past might lead to an odd sense of isolation. It's not always obvious when someone is lonely. In the backdrop of your existence, it hums softly. It's in the memories that reverberate without anyone to reflect them, the mornings that feel more serene, and the holidays that feel more empty. Helen, who is now 88, told me something that has stuck with me. Even though my husband has been gone for 5 years, I still reach for 2 teacups when I boil water, one for me and one for my husband. It's those little routines, the instinctive actions that serve as a reminder of who's missing. This emotional burden never goes away. It changes. It turns into a layer that you wear every day. You continue to smile. You continue to appear. However, you do it with a heart that has been stretched to accommodate both happiness and sadness. Nevertheless, there is strength, true strength, in this emotional terrain. Being the one to preserve the stories, to speak the names of the deceased, to share their legacy with others in your own voice, has power. Even when it hurts, there is beauty in keeping in touch, because reaching is the cure to outliving rather than hiding. Speak with a neighbor, accept the invitation to lunch, ask a younger person to listen to your stories. They can become a part of your present even if they don't share your past. Know this then, if you're going through this right now, you're not damaged. The depth of your love and life is reflected in the sadness you experience. Instead of letting it stop you, let it walk with you. If this truth was helpful to you, please let us know by leaving a comment below number 6. Additionally, touch that icon to enable notifications if you haven't already. Your assistance is greatly appreciated. It enables us to continue producing content that encourages, uplifts, and serves as a reminder that your voice is still important. The 7th truth is to gracefully acknowledge your own frailty. Realizing your own frailty is one of the most frank and humble experiences you can have after turning 80. Slower movement and hurting joints aren't the only issues. It's the knowledge that even seemingly insignificant things that you didn't previously consider now require greater consideration. Holding a cup of tea without shaking, rising from a comfy chair, or getting out of bed, these moments take on a new significance. Although the transition is quiet, it cannot be denied. You begin organizing your day according to what feels physically feasible rather than what thrills you. To determine whether you can go outside safely, you examine the weather, not for sunshine. Even routines that you are accustomed to may begin to feel strange, deliberate, and slower. This change may evoke feelings that are hard to describe. Doubt begins to sneak in. Confidence lapses. You can start questioning if it makes sense to travel, go for a walk by yourself, or even invite someone around. Additionally, this transformation may feel like a loss of identity for some people. However, failure is not synonymous with fragility. Recognizing your body's limitations and choosing to move with caution rather than defiance carries a certain calm strength. It isn't giving up, it is wisely adjusting. I recall an elderly man, now 86, who loved to go trekking in the surrounding hills. His name was Elias these days. He sticks to the level paths and employs a walking stick. Giving in is not the point. According to him, it's about continuing to show up even if the route appears to have changed. That attitude is crucial. When grace is shown to fragility, it transforms into wisdom. You learn to appreciate energy from it. It encourages you to move more deliberately, yet more slowly. It enables you to ask for assistance without feeling embarrassed, and to view aids, like a support rail or cane, as friends that increase your freedom rather than as indicators of decline. How much you can do is not a measure of strength after 80. How well you treat yourself while doing it is a good indicator. And it's that grace that keeps you going. not with haste, but with a quiet dignity and a kind of courage that comes from deep inside. After 80, being older is more than just putting up with pain and taking it more slowly. It's about quietly facing some of the most difficult realities in life. It's not easy to age, therefore you don't have to act that way. However, admitting reality does not imply weakness. It gives you wisdom. You are not a burden if you are in your 80s or are taking care of someone who is. You're not invisible. You continue to play an important role in this planet. The world still needs your voice, and your presence, memories, and stories are extremely important. Thus, give your mind the same attention as your body. Don't suppress your feelings. When assistance is required, accept it, but maintain your independence. Don't let loneliness define you. Instead, let it come and go. Continue to show up one day, one moment at a time, remain inquisitive, and remain nice. We would be delighted to hear from you now. What struck a chord with you today? Did you feel a strong connection to any particular fact or moment? Tell us what you think by leaving a comment below. You never know who might find solace in your words. If this video was helpful to you, please share it with someone who might benefit from these gentle reminders. Like it, and subscribe to VMI channel. With your help, we can keep producing educational, motivational, and uplifting content that celebrates this incredible phase of life.